Which of the 16 personalities is the most dangerous type? Which personality type could cause a whole lot of trouble if they wanted to? And do they want to? I mean, that's a good question. Of course, each type can have their own ways of being dangerous, but overall, which ones are the most dangerous? The ones that you gotta keep your eye on. Today, we're gonna rank each of the types in 4 categories of danger. Not so dangerous, a little dangerous, very dangerous, and red alert! Where does your personality type fall? Let's find out. The first group we're going to talk about is the not so dangerous types. This is the category for types that still have the potential to be dangerous, as everyone does, but more often than not, they won't find themselves in dangerous situations like getting into fights or getting into trouble. In this category, we have ISFJs, ESFJs, ISFPs, and ISTJs. Now, all 4 of these types would probably rather sit down and have a nice conversation that leads to the opposing parties in a conflict coming to an agreement instead of getting revenge or hunting down their enemy. As I discussed in my video on each MBTI type as villains, even types like ISFJs can have ways to be evil. But even in drastic situations like that, these types aren't starting massive conflicts usually. They've got to have a good reason, like an ISTJ who's mad at you because you messed up their neatly arranged and labeled closet. ISFPs and ESFJs can get up in arms defending people or things they care about, but again, that's more of a defensive dangerousness, and because of that, overall, these types are less dangerous than the other kinds that will bring the danger to you. The next group we're going to talk about is the little dangerous types. The way I phrase that makes it sound like they're little, like it's unclear. They're a little dangerous. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, these types have an occasional dangerous streak in them, but often they'll find themselves in dangerous situations by accident. They're not intentionally out there being dangerous. Now, these types are the ESFPs, the ENFPs, the ENFJs, and the INFPs. These 4 aren't generally out there looking for trouble, but yet it always seems to find them somehow. Like, ESFPs are always diving into new activities, and this means that just by the nature of doing more things than most other types, they're gonna have the potential to stumble into some danger and to be just in general dangerous. Like, I'm not sure I'd want to get in a fight with someone who was taking 9 different martial arts, gone skydiving, and can just do backflips whenever they want. That's just an example of how ESFPs will have tried a bunch of different stuff. You never know what they have in their back pocket. ENFPs have a lot of potential to be dangerous, but more so than not, they're instead just kind of mischievous. Dangerous's little brother. Their antics don't often lead to actual harm. For instance, they might, pull a prank on someone that gets a good laugh, but it's not sending anyone to the hospital. When the going gets rough, they can up those antics to be a little more problematic, but most of the time, they would rather just get a good laugh out of everyone or have fun instead of hurting anyone. They'd rather hurt you with a funny insult than with a karate chop to the face. ENFJs and INFPs are a little odd because their dangerous side only comes up when it's time to stand up for what they think is right. Whether it's fighting for the little guy or rioting for a cause they think is important, these types can turn dangerous when they feel like the time calls for it. Of course, they come at it from different angles. INFPs are going to be very much like, how do I feel about this individually? Whereas ENFJs, if they see a lot of other people feeling very strongly about something, that's what's going to call them to action. That's what separates them from the not so dangerous types. These types are willing to become dangerous and bring the danger to you should the need arise, but typically it's only when needed, and they don't often find the need to do it. Now things are starting to heat up as we approach the very dangerous types. You gotta be careful. These are the types who not only have the potential to be dangerous, but they kind of like the danger too, if they're being honest. An occasional scheme or fight makes life a little more interesting for them. It's like, well, if you did something bad to me or my friends, well then, if something bad just so happens to happen to you, then maybe you just deserved what was happening in the happening times that happen. I swear, English is my first language. So these types that I'm talking about that in the very dangerous category are INFJs, ENTPs, INTPs, and ISTPs. ISTPs have the potential to be in the final category that we're going to talk about next, but Their preference for introversion usually leads them to just mind their own business. If they have a target in their scopes, though, ISTPs can bring the danger full force. There is a reason that movies with the trope of the ex-hitman out to get revenge after trying to retire, they have ISTP lead characters. ENTPs and INTPs are dangerous because of their sheer intellect and ability to come up with 1,000 different ways to be dangerous. They're analytical enough to know just what they need to plan or do to get what they want. Or, on the other end of that spectrum, maybe they let their wild creativity go unchecked and they just throw everything at you until something hits. This combination of both chaotic creativity and analytical thinking creates a dangerous duo with an answer to almost any problem that gets in their way. INFJ's danger is a different kind of danger from the previous three types. Instead of fighting you, INFJs prefer a more subtle approach. They'll watch you, learn your habits and interests, what makes you tick. They'll figure out who you do and don't get along with, and make friends with your enemies. You see, if an INFJ wants to be dangerous, there's a good chance that you won't even know it was them when your downfall comes, because they will have manipulated those around them to do the job for them. Like, instead of fighting you, maybe they find a way to get you arrested. The last thing you see as the cops take you away is the sly smile of the INFJ from the corner of your eye. Red alert! Ah! Now we're on the final category, the most dangerous of all the types. These types are not only good at being dangerous, but they tend to be the ones who will happily bring the danger into any problems that come their way. What makes them especially dangerous, though, is that they won't feel too bad about whatever danger they cause, whether it's deserved or not. These red alert dangerous types are the ENTJs, ESTPs, ESTJs, and INTJs. ESTPs are the most in-your-face, throw-a-punch if you make them mad type of them all. They don't beat around the bush with their words, and if danger even has a chance to solve the problem they're in, then they're gonna pounce on that opportunity. Oh, you beat me at basketball? You looked at my girl the wrong way? You took one of my chicken McNuggets and didn't think I'd notice? That's nothing a good punch to the face can't solve. Now, ENTJs and ESTJs are dangerous because they have the strange combination of not only being dangerous themselves, but also being able to command and control others to be dangerous for or with them. And I'm talking like in a much more direct way. Like we mentioned with the INFJ, that they will subtly manipulate other people. These types are not as subtle. They'll just be like, hey dude, do this thing for me. The ENTJ and ESTJ are like the final bosses in a video game. You gotta fight through a whole army of underlings, and by the time you get to them, you're worn out, you're tired, you're underprepared. You had the feather that you got, you had the cape like Mario, but now by this time you're just like the little Mario. You're almost dead. Frank, what are you talking about? Meanwhile, they've just been sitting back, relaxing, and they're ready to take you on. This also applies, and maybe most often applies, in non-violent situations where the danger is not to your physical self, but maybe just more like to your mental well-being. For example, you want to ask your boss for a raise? Have fun getting through the 5 layers of managers before them. What the danger of these two types really boils down to is efficiency and authority.
And you will respect my authority!
They know the quickest way to dispose of any problem, and they have the say and the ability to do it. Finally, we have the INTJs. Oh man. Pretty serious. This type isn't as openly dangerous as the other three in this category. Like, they aren't gonna walk up and hit you or shout at you or, tell you to do stuff. They may not even make their presence known. And that's what makes them, perhaps, the most dangerous type. The INTJ sees obstacles like a strategy game. Every situation has a desired outcome and many different ways to get there. Their skill set is determining which path will offer the least resistance while also giving them the greatest outcome. Much like INFJs, they prefer to scheme and set things in motion behind the scenes. Unlike INFJs, INTJs don't have as much care or regard for other people's desires or feelings. And when I say care or regard for people's feelings, feelings, I don't necessarily mean that INFJs are like, oh, I care so much. It's more just like, I care about it in the sense of that's an important tool for me to use. INTJ is not so focused on that. And INTJ's intentions may not even be malicious. They just naturally see how people act, what skills they're good at, and how those skills can be influenced to meet their goals. An INTJ's form of danger is them getting what they want without anyone being any wiser to how they got it. An ENTJ might walk into a castle and kill the king so that he might become the new ruler. But an INTJ will set events in motion from behind the scenes that lead to everyone in the kingdom turning on the king, while the INTJ just happens to be the next in line for the ruling position. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay cool and attractive.
They say a stranger's come to town. They call him Mr.